Life sometimes leads us down strange paths. William Morgan never would have believed that a simple horse purchase would forever change his solitary life. For 35 years he had wandered the endless prairie, never letting anyone close to him. But on that fateful day when he entered the town of Hopeville, fate had other plans for him. Sometimes the greatest gifts arrive when we least expect them. The summer sun was mercilessly scorching the landscape when William Morgan trotted toward Hopeville, appearing on the horizon. His old mount, Samson, could no longer handle the long journeys. The horse limped, faltering with each step. The time had come to find a new companion. 2 days ago, he heard that excellent horses were being sold at Tom McIntyre's farm. William wiped his sweating forehead. Deep furrows lined his weathered face, and the loneliness of long years reflected in his gray eyes. He had roamed the Wild West for 30 years, with solitude as his only companion. He lost his parents at 8 years old when a raiding band struck their settlement. He watched his father fall in the hail of bullets, and his mother being carried away. Since then, he could only rely on himself. He took odd jobs at farms, never staying in one place longer than a few weeks. He always had to move on, as if searching for something he couldn't even name. As he entered the town, he immediately noticed the unusual silence. Hopeville wasn't a large settlement, but life usually bustled during the noon hours. Now, however, the streets were almost deserted. A few men stood in front of the bank, watching the stranger with suspicious eyes. He dismounted in front of the inn and stepped through the door. Inside, only a few men sat, engaged in quiet conversation. When William entered, they fell silent and sized him up with suspicious looks. The uncomfortable silence filled the room. "Good day, folks. I'd like a room for the night, and directions to Tom McIntyre's farm." The bartender looked at him grimly. Anxiety showed on his fat, sweaty face. "He gets a room, but going to McIntyre's farm is pointless. Tom and his wife have left town." William was surprised. According to his information, the farmer sells horses all summer. "Are you sure? I heard he has excellent horses for sale." The bartender and guests exchanged glances. Their looks said more than words. One of the older men stood up. His worn vest and weathered hat revealed that he, too, was a man of the prairie. "Look, friend, you're better off moving on. There's nothing to see here." William found their behavior strange, but didn't want to argue. He rented a room and decided to check out the farm himself tomorrow. Something wasn't right in this town. At night, he heard people in the inn talking quietly, mentioning McIntyre's name several times, but couldn't understand their words. He woke at dawn. He quickly saddled Samson and, asking for directions at the edge of town, headed toward McIntyre's farm. After an hour's ride, the white-painted complex appeared in the distance. In the morning sun, the farm looked peaceful, but William sensed something was wrong. As he approached, he noticed there was no activity around the property. No workers, no animals in the corrals. Only a few chickens scratched in the yard, and a stray dog slunk past the barn. William dismounted and walked to the house. He knocked, but no one answered. He walked around the building, peering through windows. The house looked tidy, as if its inhabitants had left only briefly. Half-eaten breakfast remains on the table, a child's toy on the floor. He headed toward the corrals where some horses were grazing. They were indeed beautiful animals, exactly what he wanted. A black stallion particularly caught his attention. The animal carried its head proudly, its muscular body radiating strength. But where were the owners? Then he heard soft, muffled voices from the large barn. At first he thought he was imagining it, but as he crept closer, the voices grew stronger, as if someone was crying for help, but their mouth had been stuffed. William reached for his revolver and slowly opened the barn door. Inside it was dim, with only a few rays of light breaking through the gaps between the boards. As his eyes adjusted to the darkness, a shocking sight unfolded before him. At the back wall of the barn, a man and a woman sat on the ground, tightly bound. Their clothes were torn, and their faces showed signs of exhaustion. Next to them were 5 children, the oldest perhaps 15, the youngest barely 5 years old. They were all bound with rope, their mouths stuffed with rags. They looked at the entering stranger with frightened eyes. William quickly rushed to them and removed the rag from the nearest person's mouth, the man's. "What happened here? Who did this to you?" "I'm Tom McIntyre. Please free us, but quickly." They could return any moment. William asked no more questions, took out his knife, and methodically cut the ropes. Red marks remained on the man's wrists where the ropes had been tight. As he freed the last child, the man embraced his family. The children clung to their parents, crying, "Who did this to you?" "Marty Thomas and his gang. They want our land. They found oil at the edge of town, and they think there's some under our property, too. They've been holding us for 3 days, barely gave us food or water. They said we either sign the sale contract or they'll kill us." William looked at the family. He saw the fear in their eyes, but also the strength they drew from each other. Something stirred inside him, a long-forgotten feeling. "How many are there?" 5. "They'll be back by evening. They think they've broken us." William thought quickly. The gang already outnumbered them, and they were all armed. "Do you have any weapons?" McIntyre pointed to the house. "There's a rifle and a revolver in the house, but they locked us in here." William nodded. "All right. Here's what we'll do. First, we'll get your family to safety." The oldest boy stepped forward. He was tall and thin, but determination radiated from his eyes. "I want to help. I can shoot." His mother started to protest, but William looked at the boy. He saw determination in his eyes, the desire to protect his family. "What's your name, son?" "James, sir." "All right, James. I'll need your help, but not with shooting. You'll need to protect your family if something goes wrong." William looked at the farm, then at the sky. There were at least 7 hours until sunset. They had time to prepare. "First, let's go inside. Let's make a plan." Inside, the woman, Jen, was preparing food, while William and Tom talked in the kitchen. The children stayed in the living room but heard every word of the conversation. William learned that Tom and Jen built the farm from nothing 16 years ago. They had 5 children: James, 15-year-old Emma, 12-year-old Daniel, 9-year-old Molly, and little Adam, who recently turned 5. Through hard work, they created a farm that was now one of Hopeville's most prosperous. "This isn't just our livelihood, but our legacy too," Tom explained. "This is what we wanted to pass on to our children." Jen placed a bowl of soup in front of William. "Eat, friend. We don't know how to thank you for helping us." William felt embarrassed. He couldn't remember the last time he ate with a family. Over the years, he got used to eating alone by the campfire. "I haven't done anything yet." 5-year-old Adam ran to William. "Are you the hero, mister?" William smiled and instinctively lifted the little boy onto his lap. The touch, the child's trust, awakened some long-forgotten memory in him. He remembered his own little brother, whom he also lost on that fateful day. "I'm not a hero, little man. I was just passing by." Molly and Daniel moved closer too. "Is it true that you travel the Wild West alone? How many bad guys have you defeated? Do you have a family?" The questions poured in, and William was surprised how easily he answered them. He began telling stories about his travels, the landscapes he'd seen, the people he'd met. about the huge rocks in Utah, the endless plains in Kansas, the mountains in Colorado. The children listened with wide-open eyes. Jen and Tom exchanged glances, seeing how the lonely cowboy's eyes lit up as he told the old stories. After lunch, William and Tom checked their weapons. James insisted on going with them, but William ordered him to protect his sisters and brothers if necessary. "They kept us tied up for 3 days," Tom said. "The sheriff won't look for us." They bribed him. No one in town dares to stand up to Thomas. Oil means big money, and he already controls most of the properties in the area. William McIntyre climbed onto the roof of the house with his rifle from where he could see the entire property. Tom positioned himself on the back porch. The plan was simple: strike the attackers by surprise before they noticed the prisoners had escaped. During the hours of waiting, William's thoughts wandered far. He thought about the orphanage where he grew up, the lonely years, the seemingly aimless wandering. He never thought about what it would be like to be part of a family. Now the fate of a stranger's family was in his hands. At dusk, he saw the approaching riders. There were 5 of them, as Tom had said. They approached slowly, confidently, not expecting resistance. William waited until they reached the corrals, then fired into the air. "Stop and drop your weapons!" The riders scattered and sought cover. One headed toward the house, but Tom shot from the porch. The bullet whistled into the ground in front of the bandit's horse. William slid to the barn roof, where he had a better angle on the attackers. He fired again and saw one of the bandits clutch his shoulder. The man fell from his horse, cursing. "Thomas, give up. We know what you want. The sheriff is on his way from town." This was a lie, but William hoped it would make them uncertain. One of the bandits indeed began to hesitate. Their leader, a tall man with a scarred face, shouted, "You're lying! The sheriff is in my pocket! McIntyre, come out and bring your wife and kids. If you sign the papers, we'll leave." William shot again, this time closer to the leader. "McIntyre is in no position to negotiate." "But you are, Thomas. 2 of your men are already wounded. Give up, and maybe you won't be hanged." The gunfight continued, the echo of shots filling the quiet farm. William saw that the bandits were uncertain. This wasn't what they expected. They thought it would be easy to intimidate a farmer and his family. Then something unexpected happened. The back door of the house opened, and James ran out with his father's pistol in hand. William wanted to shout, but it was too late. One of the bandits spotted the boy and shot at him. William watched as the boy fell to the ground. With an angry shout, he jumped down from the barn and ran towards James while continuously firing at the attackers. Bullets whistled around him, but he ignored the danger. He reached the boy and pulled him to the wall of the house. James was wounded in the leg, but the injury didn't seem serious. "Why did you come out? I told you to stay inside. I wanted to help. I can't let a stranger fight for my family." William was moved. Would his own son have been like this if life had given him the family he always wanted? "Now stay here. I'll take care of them." The sun had set, and darkness became his advantage. William heard the bandits talking quietly. He knew they were getting desperate. "There are too many of them." "You didn't tell us this, Marty. It was just supposed to be one defenseless family." "Shut up. We're not running away." William crawled to the corner of the house and saw 2 of them sneaking towards the barn, presumably hoping the family was still held there. William aimed and fired. One bandit cried out and fell. The others panicked. William heard Thomas shout, "Fall back! Come on!" The remaining bandits ran to their horses and galloped away. William didn't pursue them. He hurried back to James and helped him into the house. Jen immediately rushed to her son. Fortunately, the wound only grazed his leg. He quickly bandaged it while the other children watched anxiously. William stood in the doorway. He felt something change within him. As he watched this family, seeing their togetherness, something long suppressed awakened in him. Tom put his hand on his shoulder. "We owe you, William, not just our lives but our farm too. How can we repay you?" William looked at the family, then gazed out the window at the darkening prairie where he had wandered alone for 30 years. "Actually, I came to buy a horse." Tom smiled. "Choose the finest one. It's yours." William shook his head. "No, not like that. I'll buy it. But perhaps I could stay for a few days. I could help fix up the farm, strengthen the defenses in case they return." Jen stepped closer. "Stay as long as you want, William. We need help on the farm, and the children have already taken to you." Adam ran to William's feet and hugged him. "Will you tell more stories?" "Please don't go." William stroked the little boy's head and felt his heart fill with warmth, something he hadn't felt in decades. "I'm not going anywhere, little man, at least for a while." The night passed quietly. William lay in the upstairs room that Jen had prepared for him. He couldn't remember the last time he'd slept in a real bed between clean sheets. But it wasn't the bed keeping him awake. Thoughts were swirling in his head. The next morning at dawn, he rode to town for the sheriff. He explained what happened, and the sheriff promised to issue a warrant for Thomas and his gang. William wasn't sure the sheriff would actually do it, but at least he let him know the McIntyre family wasn't defenseless anymore. Returning to the farm, William viewed the property with new eyes. He saw the possibilities, the work he could do, strengthening the fences, expanding the stable, protecting the pastures. Tom and the children were already waiting at breakfast. Despite his injury, James spoke enthusiastically about plans to make the farm safer. The girls asked about Emma and Molly William, about his travels and the places he'd been. The little boys wanted to hear his stories. Jen watched with a smile as the lonely cowboy slowly opened up in the company of children. She saw the longing in his eyes, the look of a man hungry for family. In the following days, William practically became part of the family. He woke up at dawn with Tom and James, worked on the farm, helped the younger children tend to the animals, and told stories in the evenings. Daniel and Adam saw him as a hero, the girls saw him as a messenger from distant worlds, and James saw him as a mentor he could learn from. 2 weeks passed. The farm was fortified. Life returned to normal. William knew he should leave soon. He bought the horse he had his eye on, the beautiful black stallion. But it became increasingly difficult to imagine leaving this place. On the day of departure, Jen waited for him with breakfast. "So you're leaving today?" "Yes. It's time to move on. I was thinking." Tom entered the kitchen. "What if you stayed, William? The farm is big enough. There's room for another house. Or we could even convert the room above the stable. We need the help of a strong man. James is still young, and I'm not what I used to be." William was surprised. "Are you serious?" Jen took his hand. "All of us are. The children adore you. And I can see you're attached to them too. You don't always have to be alone, William." William turned toward the window and looked at the farm, the stable, the horses, the playing children. He had wandered for 30 years, never finding a home. Now here was this family who took him in, with whom he felt human again. "I think the black stallion will do for me, but I'd like to keep my old horse, Samson. He's old, deserves a peaceful retirement." Tom smiled. "So, you're staying?" William nodded. "I'm staying, at least for a while. Then we'll see." But they both knew that William Morgan had found his home. The lonely cowboy's journey had ended. He came to buy a horse and found a family instead. For the first time in his life, he lived for someone else, not just for himself. And in this, he found what he had been searching for on the roads for 30 years, himself. That autumn, William Morgan helped harvest the crops at the McIntyre farm. When the first snow fell, his small house was already standing on the property. And in spring, when Tom fell ill, he ran the farm with James by his side. Thomas and his gang never returned. The townspeople learned the truth and united to protect themselves. In time, the people of Hopeville accepted the lone cowboy who found a home among them. William Morgan never thought that a simple horse purchase would change his life forever. But fate sometimes leads us down strange paths. And sometimes the greatest gifts arrive when we least expect them.